Can I make a comment?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so my concern is that, I mean, I'm all for adding assets to the city, et cetera. And we definitely need to do something about Blair. And I'm saying this as an accountant, I'll admit that. But I just don't want to hire somebody to tell us that the field's got to get mowed when the guys at DPW don't have enough resources to mow the fields, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know, in consulting, they say, you know, give me your watch and I'll tell you what time it is. So, I mean, with this, and again, I'm not in any way suggesting that we shouldn't go forward, but, you know, at the same time, DPW is stretched. And, you know, I don't want to be beating DPW up and they're probably catching an earful on the street when they don't, when they're what, 8 people short? Is that what I saw? 6 people short? So.
Stephen could probably tell us exactly how many people we're short. We do have vacancies that were new positions this year, but we do have existing vacancies of positions that people have left, obviously, including the director and including the facilities director. But Tom, to address that concern at least a little bit, at what we are currently working on a bid for field maintenance that we hope to issue this fall. We hope that someone will bid on it and they will do the field maintenance for perhaps as long as it takes for us to either get ourselves up to speed with DPW staff and equipment, or maybe it turns out to be so efficient that we just keep doing it. That bid is being worked on right now, and it would include things like, in no particular order, I'm kind of going from memory, mowing, fertilizing, you know, organically,
Aerating, thatching.
aerating, thatching, lining. They would be in touch with the director so that, you know, if the lines need to be changed or touched up or whatever, they can get at those types of things. And so we are very much feeling the pressure of not being able to get to the field maintenance. We're also doing a separate, we're going to be hopefully putting out a separate irrigation bid. The irrigation system at the Novadear fields, and I don't know about Delta, I think it may be a little bit similar. Paul might be able to talk to this, or maybe you, Stephen, is very complicated. And it takes a technician from off island to come and deal with it when something happens to it. It's been struck by lightning a couple of times. It was out earlier this summer. Parts were hard to get because of COVID. And it was hard to get people over here in general. So hopefully, if we have an irrigation bid, we can have a firm not just responding, not just turning the irrigation on and off for the season, but checking it routinely to make sure it's functioning and fixing it if it's not, rather than us doing that. All to be coordinated with the public, with the Park and Rec director in conjunction with DPW, facilities, and admin.
All right, that's good news because it sounds like there's money to do both, which is good.
Well, yes, that sort of remains to be seen, but we hope there is money to do both. We have made it a priority, so.
Okay, so the last thing I'll say is I reviewed the material and.
Well, excuse me, Tom, should we call the meeting to order?
Oh, yeah.
Discussions
I'm
are
sorry.
gonna
Yeah.
start and
Call the meeting to order, take attendance.
thank you.
Jack Gardner. Michael Kozart.
Here.
Merrill.
Here.
And I think, is that all the board members that are here? What do we got here?
Hey, Andrew, here.
Andrew. Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Hi, good, Tom.
Okay. All right, we got everybody. Want to make a motion to accept the agenda? Someone?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Second?
Who second it then?
Yeah, somebody did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Is that good enough, Maureen?
Thank you. So do you want to start with Amanda going over the job description?
Yes, but can I just make one comment before we do that?
Mhm.
Blair's job is a lot more complicated than I realized. And, you know, he did a lot. And the problem is, he did a good job, right? So there's an expectation that we have to meet, and I obviously am using the word problem in quotes. It's very complicated, and it affects pretty much every kid on the island. So we got to get the right, I would not want to take this job. I got to tell you, it's a very complicated job because I've dealt with this type of thing before. And whoever takes the job is going to be front and center, certainly every day in the summer and beyond. So, you know, with that, why don't you just give us an update, Amanda?
Sure. So the job description template that you have, a lot of the statement of duties, required supervision, those headers are standard sections that we have in all of our job description. On the very top position title, Park and Rec Manager, the grade level where it says TBD, that's to be determined because our process internally is we have to run it by the union. So I have sent it to the union internally for their review as well. So that's why that grade level has not been completed yet. So the most important piece, if it's okay, I can skip to the essential duties. In terms of supervisory, this position would supervise like the seasonal staff, but right now no other full-time staff. The judgment, complexity, work environment, those are all like standard language that we have in a lot of other similar positions. So I'll skip down to the essential duties. Do you want me to read through each one of these bullet points, or what's the best way for me to go over this?
I would
I have-
say, I would say
Go ahead.
you don't have to do that, Amanda,
Okay.
unless anybody has a specific question.
Okay.
Was somebody just asking something? Is that you?
After reviewing this, are there any like specific things that stand out to you or questions that you had? We tried to incorporate everything. Like you said, Blair does a lot. We also recognize the DPW does a lot, and there's overlap for this position with a lot of different departments, including our licensing and the police department in a way too. So
Can I add something, Amanda?
Sure.
This is a fairly standard park and rec job description. We did look at a number of other towns to see what sorts of things they have in theirs. There's no one model for this. Depending on the town and their setup and their structure and their organizational duties, it may be a little bit, customized to each town. So that's what we've done here. We are hoping that in our fiscal 23 budget, and we're actually going to need to shake loose some money before July 1st, 2022, we want to put money in to hire seasonal staff that would be, I think, Tom, I talked to you about this, kind of like gatekeepers at Tom Nevers and Delta Nobodier, so that users of the fields are monitored as they come in. During the day, they could potentially be monitored while they're there. But the idea is to kind of check them in and make sure that whoever has signed up is the group that signed up, and that they are not doing activities on the field that are not permitted, like smoking and drinking and throwing their trash all over the place, that sort of thing. We're not going to be able to be there 24/7, but we're hoping that the staffing could handle the sort of rogue times that we've been seeing. And that activity would be overseen by the director, but hopefully with some seasonal staff that could actually be physically present at a couple of these areas. Janet, do you have a question?
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're talking about this job becoming really about maintenance of fields for recreational purposes. It doesn't seem that it would have a connection to the 4th of July activities. Is that correct?
Well, that's a very good question. I think at the beginning of it might not have the capacity for that right away, but I think recreational things like that, I mean, Park and Rec back in the day did handle 4th of July activities. And then as we had to morph into other things because of economic conditions, we moved that over to your department. So I think ultimately that sort of thing could be taken on by Park and Rec, but there's going to need to be a kind of a transition. And at some point, perhaps in fiscal 24, this position is most likely going to need an admin staff person or an assistant type that can help organize stuff like that. They may still need some support from visitor services or culture and tourism, but I think that the idea is they would probably take that stuff on. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around planning for the budget for next year, so that helps.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a question. I'm not suggesting it. But am I correct in understanding that this does not include the lifeguard group?
Correct. It does not include the lifeguard group.
Okay.
That is already well handled by the main
Yeah.
department.
Yep.
Can I make another comment or observation?
Sure.
And again, I'm saying this, I mean, everybody has pretty much the same experience I do, so it's nothing, it's probably something you already understand and know, but this is going to require a staff. One person can't do all of this stuff.
No, that's why I was saying that in a future year, we're going to need that. At the beginning, we have so many new position requests as it is for fiscal 23. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit in another one. We are going to be seeking a vehicle and some other types of equipment perhaps for this position. We do need to maybe talk to Blair a little bit about that, but there's hopefully going to be some administrative support from, I mean, this position will be housed in DPW. So hopefully there will be some administrative support there. DPW is in the middle of a transition right now as well. Hopefully, as time goes on here, they will get up to speed with these things. And I think, Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, some limited admin probably right now is already being handled by DPW.
Yes, Blair, the biggest thing that Blair did was FaceTime with all interested parties and communication with DPW, because it's a very people person oriented thing. It's a lot of discussion, a lot of talking, a lot of details that have to be processed and organized. And he would come to us with an A, B, and C, and then we give it to Mo, and then he would be able to incorporate that into our operational plans. For us to manage all the stakeholders as well as brush cutting and everything else we have to do, it's untenable. So having a manager there is very necessary, and we'll have to cover down on the staffing for the time being, but we understand this is an evolution. This is not going to be something that's just going to be cut and put in place. We'll work with it.
So on that note, I would suggest that Libby, with the unenviable task of communicating managing the expectations of the town on what this position will deliver right away and what it will deliver 3 years from now, because there may be an expectation out there that this is a silver bullet. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but there's a lot of work. It's hopefully we find somebody who lives on the island and knows everybody and can hit the ground more than running. But if it's somebody from off island, they're going to need a season to get up and running, don't you think?
I think so. Even somebody on island may, because they're not going to be
Yeah.
familiar with all this. But if they have Park and Rec experience, then they will at least, know the general programs and how this stuff typically works.
Thing is, with this whole job description, it was really written very well. but it was written for the future. In other words, for 2 or 3 years down the road. This first person on isn't going to be able to take care of everything in there, but it's well written. It's written for the needs of what we need to have in there.
Thanks, Jack. Yes, agree.
Yeah, I like the idea that you and I discussed, Libby, about having park rangers. That's what they call them up in Boston. You know, they even have a little, they have a uniform that clearly marked that they work for the town.
Mhm.
And there's a presence at all of the major assets during, you know, use time.
Yep.
You'd probably need 2 or 3 people to do that.
Yes, I think, again, over time, we may have to add some seasonal staff, maybe another year round. There's a lot of moving parts with some other departments going on at the moment as well. DPW, definitely. We're working to get admin staff to full there. They're not totally there yet. And we're talking about moving a couple of solid waste things possibly out of DPW and over to finance, which might free up DPW a little bit to take on things like this that they haven't been so involved in. So there's going to be a bit of a transition here, no matter what.
Well, it's something we need, there's no doubt about it.
So if there's no other questions, this was more of an FYI for you all, so you could see where we are with this. And especially in light of Blair leaving, his last day is Thursday. We hope to get this out in the next month or so and have somebody hired by the end of the year. It's a bit challenging. I'm just going to be upfront about that because this was not a budgeted position for fiscal 22. Despite what certain people at town meeting represented, there was no money in the budget for this position. So we're having to reprioritize a few things in fiscal 22 to come up with the funding for it. Blair met with a number of us last week to talk about what needs to happen with stakeholders while he's not here and while we don't have a director for use of the fields. And Paul, I don't know if you can speak to that or not. I think there was going to be a stakeholder meeting tomorrow.
Steve, do you have that schedule?
I don't know if Blair did he give us something?
The only thing I have from Blair, I didn't have anything about a stakeholder meeting.
Okay.
There was a chart of stakeholders, nothing for a meeting though, right? I don't see anything.
Okay.
No, it was basically on August 12th, and he has some points of focus for the fall for us to remember. He just gave us reminders about No Deer Farm, Delta, Jetties, and Tom Nevers as some things to look out for this fall.
So there is a stakeholders meeting tomorrow?
Well, I am just saying that because when we met last week, that was the plan, that he was going to set up a stakeholders meeting. And Paul, I thought he was inviting you, but I don't know if it ever got set up.
Well,
I did not receive an invite to that.
No, same
Okay.
here. The last email I've gotten was on Thursday, and it was pretty much just a follow-up as to the fall 2021 breakdown.
Okay, so it's possible that he has communicated with them, not in a meeting, but who the contacts are going to be when he's not here anymore. He did say we can call him with questions. And we thought, at least last week anyway, that a stakeholder meeting might be a good idea so that they understand what we're doing and we maybe would review with them. Not as much detail, but the idea that we're working on getting a director. And that person would then take this stuff on, but it's sounding like that did not get set up. So, and Blair is not I have not heard from him when I texted him to see if he was coming out to the meeting. So I'm kind of assuming at this point that maybe he's not.
I know, according to what he sent us, he had a chain of communication after September 30th, the sharing of contact information. So he may have something planned. He just hasn't followed up with, some type of agenda or anything for what he's doing. So I'll reach out to him.
Okay.
So can I make a suggestion on that?
Yeah.
I would, to be candid, I'd like to see these stakeholders attend the Parks and Rec meeting every month. Just so they get a sense of what we need to do to move the whole thing forward, particularly the master plan. They should definitely be invited and encouraged. But at some point, the same thing we do with the police and the DPW, maybe once a month we could have one or two stakeholders come on and explain their program, and we can give them their feedback on the importance of being a park partner, as we discussed. And that, that way we're not talking by one another. Communication, obviously, because if you look at the grids, we have many constituents, even beyond the normal athletic programs. We have the arts, the theater, et cetera. Obviously the events at Jetties, which are numerous. So I think we need to bring more people into the circle.
Tom, I think that's a great idea. I think, though, that if that can be put on the new director when they start, that would be fantastic, because there's not going to be anybody to get into contact with them.
Well, that's actually a good idea, because we can use the coming on of a new director as a reason that they should be at the meeting.
Yeah, and I like the reinforcement of the park partner idea. with them.
Yeah, if we don't think of this in terms of a partnership, the wheels are going to fall off eventually. And we can't be picking up the newspaper and finding out that there's problems by reading the newspaper. We need to know ahead of, it's just going to take a team effort to handle. And I'm thinking more of the master plan. I mean, we're having enough trouble getting through to folks on the basic, keeping your dog off the soccer field.
Yeah. We should, I have kind of started a little list of things for this person to start tackling. And the master plan is one of the items at the top.
All right, good.
Speaking of the master plan, I know this isn't totally on your agenda, but FYI, on my list of things to do is to get our Park and Rec master plan consultants from Weston and Sampson back in to a Park and Rec meeting to start discussing the Tom Nevers aspect of the master plan, because since the master plan was initially put out, we now have FEMA sea level rise projections that do show Tom Nevers being inundated sooner rather than later, I guess it would be safe to say. And the idea of spending millions of dollars to improve facilities out there might be something we want to rethink. So we need to start having some discussion about that. And I am in the process of having a discussion with the school about their playing fields. They are putting forward about a $16 million project, I think, to town meeting, this coming town meeting 2022, to construct new playing fields and athletic facilities. They gave a presentation to the select board a couple of weeks ago. If anybody's interested, please check it out. It was a very well done presentation. But what I had been thinking about was, we have fields also in the Park and Rec master plan. They have a number of fields. Are there opportunities for any type of sharing of either equipment, resources, or fields themselves? Because I'm feeling like there are a lot, there are a lot of capital projects coming up in the near future. And I can't see them all getting approved. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, basically. So if there are opportunities to share and at all, we may need to start looking at that kind of thing. So I think I may have some email back from that, but I was thinking perhaps we could get that, a couple of school people and their consultant in with ours to have some kind of a discussion about that.
Yeah, well, I agree 150%. There's plenty of ways we can save a lot of money at Tom Nevers, even without the water rising. But there's there's a lot of things that I'd like to suggest at some point where you can save probably $1 million at least,
Okay.
without affecting and probably enhancing the intent of the place. And regarding, we have to share assets. If they're going to build another soccer field out or whatever they might build at the high school, you don't need another soccer field at Nowhere Near or Tom Nevers. You don't want too many. So, and it's not unusual for schools to share assets with the Parks Department. It happens in a lot of towns where a lot of park activities occur on school facilities.
Mhm. So I'm just letting you all know, I'm in the process of trying to figure that out, when to do this and who can be there. And Tom, I will be in touch with you about it.
Yeah, I've been kind of tracking what they're doing, and there's at least 7-figure savings that just jump right out at you.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, but Blair forgot that he thought he declined the meeting. He's volunteering at Sankaty for the golf tournament.
Tell him he's fired.
Well,
He's my friend. He's my friend. He'll know I'm only kidding.
Tom says you're fired. Anyway, I don't know if you all have any comments about any of that field stuff and Tom Nevers and the master plan and all, but that is definitely something we need a project manager for, meaning the park and rec director.
Yeah, the consultants definitely got to come back.
Yeah.
May I say something on this? The thing is, with the school fields, we've had trouble over the years with this. Some of these fields need to rest. They can't be played on all the time. But the schools are using them all day long, more or less. And then they have after-school facilities. It's just be too much to allow the public to come in on the school properties, even these new facilities that are being built. We've always needed these extra fields that we've got out there. And we shouldn't be, we've got them all planned now. We shouldn't be turning them down, other than maybe at Tom Nevers where they're going to wash away eventually. But some of these other fields, now that we built Belvedere and the Delta fields and everything, those fields are really needed.
Yeah, Jack, I don't disagree at all. And the idea is that we do need more fields. And if there could be a coordinated effort to determine like a kind of a calendar of use, including the rest periods where a field can't be in use for a season or whatever, where is that activity going to go if that field is not available? And with all the new school fields and any of our new fields, we should just be sure we don't have, 3 fields sitting around doing nothing that aren't.
Yeah, I agree with Jack that the fields in town I really wouldn't want to give anything up in town, but I think you can rework Tom Nevers and save money and still have all of the recreational needs at soccer and certainly softball that you're looking for, and save $1 million doing it.
I think Mike has a comment.
Go ahead.
I think it behooves the rec committee to see the presentation by the schools. They're not building new fields or they're not increasing the number of fields. They're replacing 2 fields with 2 artificial turf fields. Now, where that can help the whole community, I think, and again, I'm not speaking for the schools now. That's not my role. But I know the plan well. They're going to put turf on where the football field is and an artificial turf up above for lacrosse and field hockey. I think that one of the opportunities for community use is going to come with lighting of those fields so that you extend the day for those fields. So.
That is an excellent point. I had forgotten about that, the lighting. And that's also a really good idea to get the presentation before you all. And so maybe we can, why don't I talk to Diane O'Neill about when that might be able to happen? And I'll coordinate that with you, Maureen, to see when an upcoming meeting date might be. And we should also see if we can get our Park and Rec master plan consultant at the same meeting, so he can hear what we're kind of talking about. Maybe a discussion can be started about, maybe this discussion can just start there with your ideas, Tom, about Tom Nevers.
I do agree, Libby, that there's an opportunity for sharing of equipment. Certainly, maybe not staff, because that gets a little bit difficult, but it's worth looking into. But the equipment for these things is quite expensive.
Yes. All right, so does that sound okay to figure out when those couple of groups can come in and you guys can have a joint discussion?
Yeah, it's great news that they're putting lights at the high school, because that's gonna, that's effectively adding a field, because you'll be able to use it longer into the night. That's good news.
That said, there is a group that it would be concerned about that. For every good intention, it doesn't work for everybody, but I think that the location of those two fields, one already has lights on it, the football field, and the one up above, if it's lit, it wouldn't affect residential. So.
Yeah, and they're only going to be on for like, an hour and a half a night, right? I mean, the kids aren't going to be out there at 11 o'clock at night. They're going to be home by 8.
Yep.
It's a great idea.
Oh, Blair responded. I asked him when the stakeholder meeting is. He says, I told him he was fired. He thought that was funny. Yes, we are either going to do Thursday or Friday, depending on everyone's schedules. I'll send another reminder now to confirm, and we'll let them know. So Paul, is it okay if I make sure that you're in on that?
Yes.
We can spare you, Stephen, I think.
I'll be fine. Paul is great. So good.
Yes. So those are the things I wanted to update you all on. So I have a little homework to do with getting a meeting organized, and we'll keep you posted about the position.
Yeah, no, do you want us to participate in the stakeholder meeting, or is that just FYI? What do you want from the board?
That was just an FYI.
Okay. Well, somebody should mention to them that we'd like them to participate, that they'll be invited to participate more,
Well, Tom, I mean, I don't think I'm saying nobody from Park and Rec can attend it, but we can't have a quorum. It can only be really one.
Yeah. And I think we should wait until we hire somebody and then, make it more formal and structured. That's all I'm saying. Let them know that we're having somebody come on board and that we're going to get our arms around everything, because.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, that's all I had.
Anyone else? I want to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.